Hi, thank you for joining us on this episode of Sports Bets for Free. My name is Scott Jenkins, your host, just a local sports bettor here in Phoenix, Arizona. And hopefully today with our bets and your bets, it's going to be another profitable day for you. We're Thanksgiving edition football. We've got one college game, 3 NFL games. We're also going to dive a little bit into the Black Friday games as well. There's no football on Wednesday night here, the night before Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of this, why we're here to make some money and what we're playing. So first game, we'll get the college football Thanksgiving Day game, which is the Ole Miss Mississippi State game. Played every year. Mississippi State 10-point home dog, 54.5 total in this particular matchup. We're just on one side of this, which is the Ole Miss over. So we do like Ole Miss over 12.5 total first quarter. Ole Miss over 27.5 first half, and then over 54.5 for the game. So one more time in this particular matchup, Ole Miss over 12.5 total first quarter, over 27.5 total first half, and then over 54.5 for the game on that particular matchup. So college football, easy for just the Thanksgiving Day stuff as there's only one game. Now we'll get into the meat and potatoes of the NFL Week 12 schedule starting on Thursday. We've got always the Lions playing first, the Cowboys playing second game, and then the third game kind of up in the air. We'll start off with the Lions matchup. Lions at home against the Packers. Lions are, everybody thought they were going to be pretty good this year, but they've been probably better than advertised on that particular one. The Packers have been one of the most inconsistent teams I think you'll find in the NFL, which makes this one a little funky, I think, but the Lions have been the steady team, and it's Ford Field, so games always go over, so we feel like we get a free few bets in on the over and then try to attack the rest of this here. So, but the line has adjusted upwards on the over, on the total, just a half a point, something like that, but it has went up a little bit. But Lions minus 2.5 first quarter, Lions minus 4.5 first half, and Lions minus 7.5 for the game. We also like their team total over in the first half of 13.5 and their team total of 27.5 for the game. We also like the over, like we mentioned in the game itself, over 7.5 in the first quarter, over 22.5 first half, and over 46.5 for the game. Also, David Montgomery, anytime touchdown, as that Packers defense is not very good against the run. So you're going to see a lot of David Montgomery stuff here. So David Montgomery over 66.5 rush yards. Montgomery over 14.5 rush attempts. Riley Patterson, the kicker, over 1.5 field goals made. And Aiden Hutchinson for over a quarter of a sack. So we just need a half a sack plus in order to cash that ticket. There's player props out. Obviously, it's a short week with all the games and things, so we haven't got to everything. So just a reminder, the Google Sheets at the end of this episode in the comments section is going to be the best place to find everything. It basically has what bet we placed, what juice we got it at, how many units, and what book it was placed at. So it's a great, it's our ledger of bets for you to check out. I'm sure we're going to be adding a couple to this game yet. We're trying to get a little bit more of a beat on the passing attack. Laporta was not hardly used at all last week, and it was all, once again, Ross St. Brown, which we don't have a problem with. It's just kind of, normally at home, Laporta shines, and this was the first one where he didn't. So kind of taking it back on that and just reevaluating the passing attack and what they've done. So we'll run through what we've got so far on this Lions-Packers game. Lions minus 2.5 first quarter, minus 4.5 first half, minus 7.5 for the game. Lions over 13.5 team total first half and over 27.5 team total for the game. Lions, Packers over 7.5 total first quarter, over 22.5 total first half, and over 46.5 total for the game. David Montgomery, anytime touchdown. David Montgomery over 66.5 rush yards. David Montgomery over 14.5 rush attempts. Aiden Hutchinson over a quarter of a sack. And then Riley Patterson, the kicker, over 1.5 field goals made for the Lions. Next game up we'll get into is going to be Cowboys Commanders. This line is jumping all over the place. We did get this at 10.5. I'm just seeing it right now at 12.5. This line just moved again. It was at 11 pretty steadily. Probably an announcement coming up on that one there. So, and then total 49. Obviously, the game in Dallas is as usual on Thanksgiving. But we did take the Cowboys minus 2.5 first quarter, minus 6.5 first half, and minus 10.5 for the game. We also like the over 9.5 total first quarter, over 23.5 total first half, and over 48.5 for the game. The Commanders over 18.5 team total. I definitely think the Cowboys are scoring somewhere in the 30s. So over 18. If you like the Commanders, I think I mentioned this in our last episode because we kind of briefly touched on what we liked here. But if you like the Commanders, you have to bet. I think the safer bet's over 18.5 team total because I don't think there's any way on God's green earth you hold to the Cowboys under like 27. So I would definitely probably play that one instead. We do like the Cowboys over the 29.5 team total. CeeDee Lamb over 88.5 receiving yards. Tony Pollard under 15.5 rush attempts. He does not get there very often. We're going to take the under there. Sam Howell over 251.5 pass yards. And Parsons over 3/4 of a sack. That was heavily juiced. But Sam Howell gets sacked more than any other quarterback in the league. I just think we're going to see more sacks. So one more time in that game. Cowboys minus 2.5 first quarter, minus 6.5 first half, minus 10.5 for the game. We like the over total first quarter of 9.5, 23.5 for the first half, and over 48.5 for the game. Commanders over 18.5 team total. Cowboys over 29.5 team total. CeeDee Lamb over 88.5 receiving yards. Over Tony Pollard under 15.5 rush attempts. Sam Howell over 251.5 pass yards, and Micah Parsons over 3/4 of a sack. Next game up, the night game. 49ers at the Seahawks, NFC West rivalry game, we should say. I'm not sure about Geno Smith yet. This line's been between 6.5 and 7 for the couple days of this week so far. The 49ers, I think, just got everything clicking after the bye, and we think it continues here. And I'm not a believer in Seattle. I think it's one of the biggest smoke and mirror jobs. The fact that Pete Carroll can get this team to continually be around 500 or a little bit better is one of the best coaching jobs in the NFL, if not all football history. So we do like the 49ers minus 1.5 first quarter, minus 3.5 first half, and minus 7 for the game. 49ers over 12.5 team total first half, over 24.5 team total for the game. Brock Purdy over 1.5 passing touchdowns. Purdy over 250.5 pass yards. Brandon Ayuk over 63.5 receiving yards. DK Metcalf under 64.5 receiving yards. We're going to go back to Ayuk for an anytime touchdown. And then DK Metcalf also under 21.5 yard longest reception. So one more time in that 49ers Seahawks matchup. 49ers minus 1.5 first quarter, minus 3.5 first half, and minus 7 for the game. Over 12.5 team total first half. Over 24.5 team total for the 49ers. Purdy over 1.5 passing touchdowns. Purdy over 250.5 passing yards. Ayuk over 63.5 receiving yards. Metcalf under 64.5 receiving yards. Ayuk anytime touchdown. And Metcalf under 21.5 yards on his longest reception. If Metcalf is still questionable like he has been every week, and they do not know how to use him, please trade him to the Chiefs. If you don't want him, I know we do. Then we get to the Black Friday. First time ever the NFL is going to have a Black Friday game. Dolphins at the Jets. Jets 10-point home dog. 41 total. This is a middle of the afternoon game as well. That does, I think, make a difference. If this is a night game, I think it could be even more wonky stuff going up. We do not have a side or a total, but we do have quite a few props in here, so we want to go through those with you. And like I mentioned before, we will be adding bets, especially the Friday games. This is a couple days away. The Thursday games, I'm sure we'll still add more bets. So making sure you just keep up to date with those and check those out. So Jalen Phillips with the Dolphins over 1/4 of a sack. Bradley Chubb over 1/4 of a sack. Jets under the 15.5 team total with Boyle at quarterback. But I think Tua is going to throw a pick. And then we're going to get to Tyler Conklin under 26.5 receiving yards for the Jets. Jalen Waddle over 4.5 receptions. I don't know if him and Hill are going to be able to bust out big numbers. They're going to have to be patient. The Jets definitely play a lot of zone defense and keep stuff in front of them. So maybe get a lot of catches, but maybe not, a lot of yards, so to speak. So, but we do like Waddle over the 4.5 receptions there. We'll probably, if Tyreek stays at 5.5, we might be even going back to add Tyreek to that as well. And then Breece Hall over 24.5 receiving yards. As check down Charlie, Mr. Boyle is. We assume he's going to be throwing the ball to the back a lot. Breece Hall's an excellent option to throw the ball to. In fact, I'd rather probably throw the ball to him than anybody else on the damn team. So Garrett Wilson, for all his stuff he did last year, in my opinion, has been a big disappointment. Drops that they're not counting as drops. If it hits you in the hands, I don't care if it's behind you or not, that's a drop. Also, fumbles. He has not helped the cause. I mean, let me get into this. Zach Wilson is not a great quarterback, but this is using him as he's the only reason that they suck, or their offensive sucked, is not him. First of all, it starts with the play caller. Nathaniel Hackett is probably the worst play caller or offensive coordinator in the league, as he was the worst head coach in the league last year. Okay, so I know Aaron Rodgers loves you. Congratulations. That means job security when they hand over the keys to the franchise for him. But you're horrible at this. You are not good at this at all. You can't call an offense. You can't run an offense. You can't run a team. It's time to go back and be a quarterback's coach and let somebody else that's an actual play caller call the plays. How do you only run Breece Hall 10 times a game? How does he only get 12 touches? That's the play caller's fault, not Zach Wilson. Next thing is, how many fumbles have we seen by Garrett Wilson or non-catches by Lazard and Cobb and all these dudes they brought over that are absolutely garbage? Lazard was supposed to be your number 2. He has 20 catches for the season. 20. We're in week 12. Not acceptable. I don't know how many balls I've seen him drop. I don't care if you're used to the way Aaron Rodgers throws the ball. This is the way it goes in the NFL. There's going to be another quarterback at some point in your career. Learn how to catch it. It's not hard. These guys do it all the time. With the stick them on these damn gloves, I'm surprised it just doesn't stick to the glove. Why do you think they can do so many one-handed catches? Randall Cobb, 3 catches for the whole season. 3. That's 1 every 4 effing games. What was that point of bringing him over? They haven't used Conklin well. They haven't used Dalvin Cook at all. So I don't know why you paid him $7-8 million, whatever amount you paid him for. That was a joke, right? There's a lot of problems. In the top 5 is definitely going to be the offensive line. That's absolutely just. Why do you think we take sack bets against the Jets every week? And Zach Wilson has a lot more ability to bust out of the pocket than Boyle does. Boyle might get sacked 9 times in this game. If he doesn't get rid of the ball quickly on check down Charlie to Breece Hall, which we think he's going to do half the time, and the other time it gets sacked, so he'll probably only end up with 5 sacks. It's not going to be pretty, folks. There's a lot more things to this team than just Zach Wilson. That defense always seems to give a score up early as well, right? So they're always playing from behind. Always. Like, okay, great. Your team went 3 and out. You can't stop the guys on the other side of the field, so they got to punt. I mean, the Jets defense is not blameless in this as well. They could do a little bit. I'm not saying that they're not a good defense. They are a good defense, but they always give up a score early. Like, you got to stop giving up those scores early and play from in front and see what you can do. You're not helping the cause by them playing from behind. So now that I'm over my Jets tirade with Zach Wilson, and I'm not even a Jets fan. I'm just getting tired of seeing this kid get beat up. He's not played well. I'm not going to deny that. But he's not getting like superb efforts and results from the rest of his teammates on this as well. So that Jets-Miami Dolphin game for Black Friday, the Jalen Phillips over a quarter of a sack, Bradley Chubb over a quarter of a sack, Jets team total under 15.5, a Tua pick, Conklin under 26.5 receiving yards, Waddle over 4.5 receptions, and Breece Hall over 24.5 receiving yards. I've mentioned this multiple times before, and we'll go through it again. At the end of this episode, in the comments section, you will see a link to the Google Sheet. This will have a list of all of our bets, juice we got those at, as well as how many units and what book we placed them at. I'm going to make a big suggestion here. There are going to be a lot of bets probably added between now and game times. This is, if you want to see all of our bets and where we're at, make sure you look at those Google Sheets, as those will get updated. And when we update them on our side, it'll get updated on your side as well to view. So make sure you take advantage of that. And as always, if you could subscribe and get notifications to our YouTube channel, so when we drop our bets, you get those first. It gives you a ton of time to match them up with your bets and give you that confidence you need to head into that betting app or betting window. We strive really hard to get these out to you as early as possible. I mean, these NFL bets are a day ahead of time, for example. The NBA, unfortunately, baseball, stuff like that, it has to be day of, but we try to give you multiple hours in order to get those checked out. But make sure you do check them out when you get some time. I understand nobody's got time to do this full time. I completely understand that. It doesn't take full time. We do all the work for you and then post it. And basically, you just got to read and pick one, see if there's the same bet that you like. And if it does, more than likely, that's probably pretty solid, right? So anyway, so make sure, like I said, subscribe and get those notifications turned on. And then you'll be real easy to find us once that happens. I do appreciate everybody's support as always and look forward to seeing you on the next episode.